welcome everyone. This is about, I believe this is a class about relationships, and part of the reason I was inspired to do this was that we are coming up to Christmas time, and there is no greater season throughout the year than one that coagulates a whole bunch of people with a whole bunch of different set of values and priorities, and it brings together issues and amplifies those kind of things. And so hopefully that we could kind of cover in the next 25 minutes or so, just some things that you can do or perspectives that you could carry into kind of this unique holiday season, as we approximate and bring together people of a variety of different levels of well-being. My name is Dr. Steve. I don't know if you know who I am, but if you do, you know that I am concerned with your well-being and the well-being of families and relationships, and your own well-being. That's what I've kind of tailored my practice over the last 20 years about, and come up with different processes and methods and questions that we can kind of ask ourselves in order to maximize our potential both within ourselves and our intimate relationships and our significant people in our lives. I think there's pretty much a general consensus that at the end of our days we're going to reflect on the relationships that we had, and I think that it's reasonable to put relationships at a hierarchy of things to focus on, because they play such an integral role in our well-being. If our own sense of well-being isn't in check, I'd say that's definitely priority. But then also, as we extend our sense of self out to our external world, the first thing that we meet up with are generally people. And so then, that becomes the next kind of tier of tackling, so to speak. If we have kind of our own sense of well-being and value under somewhat control, or we feel somewhat empowered, then we kind of intermingle with the relationships around us, and boy oh boy, they sure pull up new pieces and parts of us that maybe haven't yet been explored. So that's the beauty of relationships. So I wanted to give you a bit of a framework first on kind of how what I was taught on how to kind of view ourselves first, because I think if we could come with a generalized sense that we are very similar in ways, then we're able to have a greater appreciation to some of the smaller little details that differentiate us as human beings. So I want to just lay out for a moment just an idea of different versions of us that can show up at any given moment, and so that you can just kind of grasp a little bit of a satellite version to that. So I want you to think of kind of your essence in the middle here, and then we have different kind of like little characters. You can call yourself like little characters that show up, that express ourselves in different ways. So our essence is at the core. You can call your essence being whatever that is. Let's call that a place of stillness or a place of pure ease. Then we have, on one hand, we have the version of us that suffers. So that's the person of us that feels helpless or hopeless or powerless in any given moment. That version of us has very primitive neurology. It has very reflexive stress responses. And we are in our stress and anxiety centers high in that particular domain. And we all have those parts. So just remember that. Okay. The second part is the part of us that really gets triggered and kind of what we can call has issues to some extent. And issues just means unresolved, undigested energy, unaccepted energy of a system. And when that exists, there's going to be a trigger, something like that. And that's classic when you bring family together. Then we go into parts of us that can feel really stuck. Really stuck. And we feel stuck in a perspective. And that is the third version of us. And I cover this regularly because I think that it's really important for us to remember this. Just like, there's there's, let's say, call it like seven floors of a hotel room, let's say, or a hotel. If you think of yourself as the hotel, there's the first floor, which is extremely noisy and busy and can be very stressful. And the higher you go up on this in this hotel, if you go to the balcony of each one of those floors of the hotel, what you'll notice is your perspective gets bigger on the actual space around you, but then also the degree or magnitude of stillness and peace and quiet also goes up the ladder. And so each kind of floor of a hotel provides you with a different perspective, but also a different sense of our own being as we go up those layers. And when you go to that top floor or that penthouse floor, we really get a vast sense of the spaciousness. And it's not just one street like on the main floor, but you go up to the seventh floor and you look out on the balcony, and there's a whole different space, a sense of peace, a sense of awe. You could see the whole landscape. So I want you to kind of think of these tiers of us is providing different energy, different awareness, different possibilities as we move up. Okay, and so the fourth part is an empowered part. It's where we reclaim our power, and we could say this is the first part where we feel really powerful. So empowerment is this kind of fourth floor. And then our fifth floor is really where we look to challenge and alter our belief systems. So that's the fifth floor, where we look at our belief systems. We don't look at our belief systems when we're suffering. We don't look at our belief systems on the first floor. We look at our belief systems on the fifth floor. On the sixth floor is kind of like really what this season is about, is preparation for resolution. And what that means basically is that in this particular floor or tier of us or awareness of us, or energy of us, we have this kind of preparatory sense that we are moving towards a compelling future and towards our own vision. Okay. And then the seventh floor is really about letting go. And letting go really means you're moving into a domain of truth and deep understanding, and a sense, as you move into a sense of awe. And as you move through all these different stages, all you have to think about is what the first floor of a hotel is like, and then go to the seventh and stand on the balcony. And you got just a different kinesthetic sensory experience with a different sense of awareness on the landscape. And that all happens within us, and all those are available. Now, when we approach relationships, we are going to have one of those parts of us that are accessed in each individual relationship or in a collective relationship. And there's different strategies that we use at each one of these stages to be able to become more resilient at the end of the day in relationships. So if we want some resilience while we're suffering or with some triggers or feeling stuck around certain relationships, the best thing that we can actually do at these particular stages is to add breath and body awareness to what's happening. It's not the time for intellectual prowess to show up. It's the time where we can just close our eyes, we can bring our hands to our body, we can center ourselves in our being, we can bring a focused intention to our breath, we can just find some rhythm in our body. Because these first three kind of floors, there's a lot of noise and a lot of complexity that our system doesn't necessarily have the energy to fully comprehend and understand. And so instead of us trying to understand it under a tight body, the best option is to really go into the body and take a breath. Now, what does that practically look like at this time of year? Well, it means you're pulling up to a driveway. Oh, hang on one second. Just want to make sure we have audio. Oops. Okay. So we pull up, say, to our family's home, or where there's going to be a gathering, and there's a little anxiety and some like, ugh, like what's this going to bring? You place your hands on your body in your car. You begin the process of just connecting in just for a minute or two with the breath. And it may seem impractical, but you know what? Sometimes like these times call for unconventional strategies. So, give yourself permission. Permission slip here for you. I'm writing one for you. Is like give yourself permission to use your car, your vehicle as a space to connect to your body, to connect to your breath, and just set your system up for its oncoming experience. Your system's perceiving that there's going to be challenges upcoming potentially. And so, as we can approach this challenge, we can come from a more centered place by just grabbing hold of being in our body for a moment. And usually it's about a minute, minute and a half to 2 minutes where we can get into a nice synchronous kind of pattern with our breathing. Maybe 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, or 7 seconds in, 7 seconds out. I teach that a lot because you want to synchronize the patterns of ease and give your mind a bit of a focus on what to pay attention to. So I'm going to breathe in and out. In the nose and out the mouth is a peaceful baseline breath. So being in the body is a great idea. Also, what you can do for preparation for different relationship dynamics is, make sure that there's a million and one breathwork practices on YouTube and stuff like that, but you can also have like a really good workout which elevates vitality and just getting in the body, or you can go for a nature walk or something like that preceding so that the system can orientate its energy. Sometimes the system can orientate its energy around what it's about to kind of embark on and move into. So getting in your body is a real practical, useful tool. Whether you do that through nature walking, through a breath in the car, through a workout you will feel more vital and more resilient just by doing that. Now, that doesn't cover, your family's behavior, those types of things. But I think that's one way that you can really set yourself up if you're in a pinch of time. Now, the next kind of layer would be in these pieces here, the empowerment, beliefs, and vision. Is as you move into that, some things that you can do in these unique times is you can just start asking yourself some kind of simple questions of something like, what value am I actually going to bring? What value am I bringing to a person or to an event or to an experience? And so that you can begin to mentally rehearse from a mindset standpoint. I do this with athletes is what can we do to, if they're going in for a fight, or if they're going in, to in competition, is what value am I bringing to this experience? What value am I bringing to other people so that you're ramping up your sense of worth and value in that kind of time frame? If you're preparing for a meal or if you're preparing to go in to, into a challenging dynamic, this is one thing that you can do. Now, the other thing, though, that helps to combat this is what value are they bringing to me? Now, this might be like an oddball question, you might think. Question mark. What it says, this says, it's a horrible writing, sorry. What value are they bringing to me? What value am I bringing to them? What value are they bringing to me? And first knee jerk, in suffering, you might say they're bringing no value. But they are. They're bringing value. They're bringing you an opportunity. They're bringing you a learning experience. They're bringing you something. Maybe they're bringing you, chicken wings, or maybe they're bringing you some food nourishment. I don't know what they're bringing. But if you can start to rhyme off and see maybe 10 or 15 things of value that they're bringing to you as an experience that supports you in your growth, your evolution, your physical nourishment, wow, they make great Brussels sprouts. They're bringing this to me. They're bringing that to me. If you can start to rhyme off maybe 10 or 15 ways that they're bringing you value, it'll actually release some of the adrenaline and stress hormones, and you'll be more inviting an experience in because you're not seeing it as so much of a threat. So first, ramp yourself up in empowerment, this first step, in saying, what value am I bringing to this experience? Again, if it's a mom that irritates the hell out of you, or if it's an uncle, or if it's a cousin, or if it's a brother, or if it's a sister, just say, like, respective to that experience, what value am I bringing to that relationship? And make sure you can find, 5 or 10 or 15 things that you're bringing to the relationship. Then, that they can maybe be a challenge. Well, what value are they bringing to me by being a challenge? Well, it's an opportunity. And within every challenge, there's opportunity. So you can start with a little, journaling, just saying the opportunity is to practice my calm practices. The opportunity is to say what's on my mind. The opportunity is for me to step up in my courage. The opportunity is for me to set boundaries. The opportunity is for me to, they're gonna to eat some of their really good food. They're actually a really good cook. Opportunity to engage in dialogue with someone that I'm not so fond of. The opportunity is to embrace that they're not the same as me. The opportunity is to, so you can just find, that's why I've done this hundreds of times. You can find value in the challenger. You can grab hold of that. So now what you've set your mindset up for in these empowerment and belief stages is you've set your mind up and your body, you've set it up to see more of a fair exchange that's going on between you and them. And anytime that you create a scenario in your mind, in your psychology, where there's more of a fair exchange, you're golden. You are so much more resilient in the fair exchange state. If you feel like you're bringing more to the table than they're bringing you, well, you're in an element of an imbalanced psychological kind of situation. If you feel like you're moving in and what value do I have to offer them? They're so good to me. They're so gracious to me. They're so wonderful to me. That's even off too. Like that doesn't create the best psychology, because then you'll kind of be walked over. So you don't want to have anybody sitting on a pedestal just being gawking them. You want to find your value in the exchange between them, but you don't want to put anybody in the pits saying that they're of no value, because they are. It just means you haven't explored what their value is. So equanimity and